And the Oscar goes to Clint Eastwood for Unforgiven.
At 94 years old, Clint Eastwood has finally broken his legendary silence. For decades, Hollywood whispered about the conflicts, the tensions, the celebrities who simply vanished from his orbit without explanation. The man who built his career on a few words and steely stares has always let his actions speak louder than any public feud. But now, patterns have emerged from years of careful observation. 5 names, 5 celebrities who crossed the line with a man who never forgot and rarely forgave. This is the story of Hollywood's most quietly dangerous grudges. The first name on Eastwood's unforgiving list emerged from a single chilling moment in 2005. During a National Board of Review Awards event, Clint took the microphone and delivered what many assumed was a joke. He allegedly told the audience that Michael Moore and he actually had a lot in common, both appreciating documentaries, but then came the warning that silenced the room. According to witnesses, Eastwood declared that if Moore ever showed up at his front door with a camera, he would kill him. The audience's nervous laughter quickly died when they realized Clint wasn't smiling. This wasn't comedy, this was a line drawn in the sand. The animosity ran deeper than that single moment. Moore's documentary Fahrenheit 9/11 had won awards and made headlines, but it infuriated Eastwood. To a man who revered World War II heroes and honored quiet service, Moore's work felt like exploitation wrapped in self-promotion. While Eastwood was crafting films like $1 Million Baby and preparing Flags of Our Fathers, exploring American identity and sacrifice for history rather than headlines, Moore represented everything Clint despised about modern documentary filmmaking. The two never collaborated, never even appeared in the same frame again. Eastwood doesn't believe in public feuds, he believes in quiet erasure. In 2008, Clint Eastwood broke his own rule about staying silent, and the result was explosive. When his ambitious double feature Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima hit theaters, critics praised the raw honesty of telling the same story from both American and Japanese perspectives. But Spike Lee saw something different. He publicly accused Eastwood of erasing Black Marines from the story of Iwo Jima, calling out the lack of representation in Flags of Our Fathers. Lee reportedly stated that many African Americans gave their lives and that history couldn't ignore that contribution. Eastwood's response was swift and brutal. According to reports, he declared that a guy like Lee should shut his face. It wasn't diplomatic, it was explosive. Lee fired back immediately, reportedly saying he wasn't going to shut up and that Eastwood sounded like an angry old man. For days, entertainment news was hijacked by this war of words between two filmmaking titans, the traditionalist cowboy versus the modern provocateur, exposing Hollywood's deepest fault lines. While many tried to mediate, Clint never clarified his remarks. That silence said everything. To Eastwood, the story of Iwo Jima was about specific soldiers, and he wasn't interested in checking representational boxes. He was telling his story the way he saw it, and no one would dictate his artistic vision. They haven't spoken since. They don't attend the same events or appear on the same panels. Neither has publicly acknowledged the other's legacy. When Eastwood cast Leonardo DiCaprio in 2011's J. Edgar, Hollywood buzzed about the ultimate collision between old school and new school filmmaking. But behind the scenes, that collision became a quiet storm. The friction was immediate and palpable. Clint was famous for his one-take directing style, minimal rehearsal, limited setup, shoot once and move on. It was efficient and instinctual. DiCaprio operated in the complete opposite manner. Leo liked to explore emotional layers. He wanted multiple takes and asked countless questions. While DiCaprio searched for subtlety and depth, Clint was already calling cut and moving to the next scene. Crew members reportedly described the tension as watching a racehorse trying to run in cowboy boots. There were no screaming matches or dramatic walkouts, but the energy on set was unmistakably strained. One insider allegedly described it as two master craftsmen with wildly different approaches locked in a silent struggle over storytelling methods. DiCaprio did his best to adapt to Eastwood's rapid-fire style, Clint refused to budge from his proven system. The film got made and released, but then came a telling silence. No second collaboration. No warm praise in interviews. No award season shout-outs. Eastwood, who frequently reuses actors he admires like Morgan Freeman and Bradley Cooper, never called Leo again. Some attributed it to creative incompatibility. Others believed Clint saw DiCaprio as high maintenance and theatrical. Whatever the reason, their professional paths split permanently, and Eastwood never looked back. Seth Rogen made his enemy loudly and publicly. In 2014, just days after Eastwood released American Sniper, Rogen took to Twitter with a comparison that left Hollywood speechless. He reportedly wrote that American Sniper reminded him of the propaganda film shown in Inglourious Basterds, where a Nazi sniper kills Allied soldiers. He didn't mention Clint by name, but the implication was nuclear, essentially comparing Eastwood's military tribute to Nazi propaganda. Though Rogen later insisted it was just a joke, the damage was done. Eastwood didn't tweet back or issue statements because Clint doesn't engage in social media battles. He responds with ice-cold silence. Behind closed doors, insiders reported that Eastwood was livid, not just because of the insult, but because it was a public hit-and-run attack. To Clint, it wasn't just disrespectful, it was cowardly. While Rogen would later backpedal, claiming he wasn't actually calling American Sniper Nazi propaganda, the apology never reached Eastwood's ears or heart. Clint never mentioned Rogen again, never worked with him, and reportedly made it clear to collaborators that if Rogen's name appeared on any casting list, it should disappear immediately, because if there's one thing Clint Eastwood won't tolerate, it's being mocked by someone who treats everything as a punchline. The most complex feud involved someone who should have been Eastwood's natural ally. On screen, in 1992's Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman were electric together. Off-screen, they barely spoke. What looked like flawless collaboration between two giants actually concealed a slow-burning storm. Eastwood valued control, quiet professionalism, and trust on his sets. Hackman brought unpredictable fire and was famously combative. From the first week of filming, whispers of trouble emerged. Hackman didn't accept direction easily. He would interrupt Clint's instructions, challenge blocking decisions, and push for line rewrites. It wasn't rebellion, it was pride. One assistant recalled a pivotal moment when Hackman paused mid-take, turned to Eastwood, and allegedly declared that a particular line didn't work and he wouldn't say it. Clint didn't argue or raise his voice. He simply stared with that legendary intensity. Then, with a soft but deadly tone, he reportedly replied that Hackman would indeed say the line. It wasn't yelling, it was final. Tension hung over the remaining shoot like a desert storm cloud. They maintained professional respect, but never developed personal affection. After both men won Academy Awards for Unforgiven, it marked the last time they ever worked together. Clint never invited Hackman back, never cited him as a favorite collaborator. When discussing the film in later interviews, he would mention Morgan Freeman and Richard Harris, but rarely Hackman. Industry insiders believed the respect was genuine, but the relationship was unsalvageable. These 5 conflicts reveal a consistent pattern in how Clint Eastwood operates. He doesn't need dramatic confrontations or public statements to make his point. When someone crosses his carefully drawn lines, whether through disrespect, unprofessionalism, or public mockery, Eastwood responds with something far more powerful than anger. He responds with permanent silence. Michael Moore learned that mocking American military sacrifice would earn a lifetime ban from Eastwood's circle. Spike Lee discovered that challenging the director's artistic vision meant the end of any potential collaboration. Leonardo DiCaprio found that creative differences with Clint weren't negotiable. Seth Rogen realized that public ridicule of Eastwood's work carried serious consequences. Gene Hackman experienced firsthand that even fellow legends aren't immune to Clint's standards. In each case, Eastwood never explained his decisions publicly. He simply moved forward, carefully curating who deserved space in his professional world. For a man who built his reputation on unwavering conviction, Rather than Hollywood charm, these silent dismissals weren't personal vendettas. They were professional standards being enforced without compromise. At 94, Clint Eastwood's legacy isn't just about the films he made or the characters he portrayed. It's about the code he lived by and the standards he refused to compromise. These 5 celebrities learned that working with Eastwood wasn't simply a job. It was a test of respect, discipline, and understanding when to keep ego in check. Some failed spectacularly. In Hollywood's world of manufactured relationships and strategic alliances, Clint built something different, a legacy based on authentic conviction and the quiet power of knowing exactly who deserved his time and who didn't.